holidays are coming.
Very professional. I wouldn't mind that myself.
Well, it's that warm time of the year again where families are forced together and handcuffed by tinsel and fairy lights. Yes, of course, I'm talking about Christmas. And you know, this year, what I want underneath the tree is the Mamiya 7 and a box of Portra 800. If you're new to this channel, I like film cameras. It's probably one of the main things I talk about. Perchance, it might be my one and only personality trait. And I think there's definitely an interesting comment to be made on film cameras, nostalgia, and while it's the festive period, Christmas of course. One too many times I've had people wanting to shoot film because it's nostalgic and it has them warm, fuzzy, dreamy tones. Yes, there's film stocks that hold those aesthetical qualities like Kodak's warmer tone stocks, and you can definitely achieve a film look easier on film, but there's also so much that goes into the nostalgic constructed idea of what makes something nostalgic. You don't just take a film photo and bam, it's nostalgic. So why do we think that? And while talking about film, I think Christmas fits very similar into this warm collective idea of a memory, and both are definitely due to a similar reason. Yeah, it's fucking capitalism. Watch any modern TV, movie, dare I say music video, any piece of media that's trying to sell a nostalgic vibe, and it's probably set in suburban America during the 80s. During my media education, I learned about something called cultural capital, referring to the collection of symbolic elements such as skills, tastes, posture, clothing, mannerisms, material belongings, credentials, etc. that one acquires through being part of a particular social class. Projecting this onto film and TV, we as a Western society have a constructed idea of what suburban America looks like. With boxy cars, kids riding bikes, a paperboy, the local town sheriff, all of these signifiers create our idea of what that time period looked like. And these created ideas do come from a grounded, real perspective from movies that were made during the 80s that have since become iconic, popular movies. I wasn't alive during the 1980s, let alone the 20th century at all, but I have such a created idea of what the 80s looked like through media consumption, and I can recognize that at a glance even though I grew up with nostalgia for the Nintendo Wii and Moshi Monsters. Pair that with the less advanced technology at the time like film and VHS that middle class families had to document themselves, it creates a certain aesthetic and idea of what that time period was like. You know, surprisingly the 1900s wasn't all black and white, it's just the technology at the time only really allowed them to record in black and white. We've been sold this idea that the 80s was such a better time, it was warmer, there wasn't phones making us constantly depressed and miserable. You've got your atomic family, the hegemonic male, police sheriff, the local mall where everyone hangs out. And I'm sure the 80s were great, but it becomes a self-fulfilling cycle that even I, who grew up during the 2000s, will watch content romanticizing the 80s and feel nostalgic for it. So how does this relate to film photography or Christmas? Kodachrome was one of Kodak's first commercially successful film stocks that dominated the markets of the US during the late 20th century. It followed a unique color process which was essentially dyed black and white film that is insanely obsolete compared to modern film technology, which makes sense why it was discontinued. But that film stock paired with Kodak's naturally warmer color tones creates this color palette of what we recognize as the 80s. When you hear someone wanting to capture that film aesthetic, they're mainly talking about light leaks, warmer tones, grain. They want to be Kodachrome so bad. However, with modern film stocks, there definitely is no equivalent to Kodachrome. You could say Ektachrome 100 is close with a warming filter, or just be cheap and use Kodak Gold. But you know, it's not just film stocks that create that nostalgic feeling. It's compact cameras. I've talked in the past that one of my core beliefs is that photography was definitely pushed and redefined by capitalism in the 20th century. There was this desire to give everyday consumers the ability to take photos, and we see that developed from the original Kodak camera to modern day point and shoots. Compact cameras dominated the film markets, especially in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, and until we eventually replaced them with our smartphones. These compact cameras are typically all the same: fixed or zoom lens, built-in flash, automatic settings, and easy as hell to use. Just like Kodak's original tagline said, "You press the button and we do the rest." This new genre of photography was born from giving the everyday mundane person a camera to document their lives, called snapshot photography. Defined as more of a less formal, in the spur of a moment image, it could be anything from weddings to holiday photos, birthdays. Essentially a documentation of somebody's personal life, a family archive or album. I'd say most people from the 80s to the 10s grew up with a physically printed album of images taken in this kind of genre. But when I look back at old baby photos and birthday photos, how am I not meant to feel nostalgic for film and these early CCD sensors that we find in compact cameras? Nostalgia is pretty much defined as a time you felt happier, and even if you were miserable as a kid, I'm sure you're more miserable now and you were happier back then. And these photos only serve as a relic of that time. I also briefly glazed upon light leaks earlier, and I should probably go more into detail on that. There's an association with modern film aesthetics which have light leaks and film grain kind of painting film as this obsolete technology. You know, it's the unpredictability of film that makes it so cool to shoot. And yeah, definitely. That's why Ansel Adams took his American landscapes on film, because, you know, he really liked the unpredictability of it and how he couldn't control the images whatsoever. Compact cameras are more prone to light leaks, I guess, and especially disposable cameras, which have plastic lenses, are definitely more prone to light leaks and increased grain and kind of soft focusing, which do give the desired effects that some people want from film. But you have to recognize that doesn't mean the whole aesthetic of film is this cheap kind of improper image. Disposable cameras also saw a dramatic uprise in sales during the 80s and 90s, which really just spells out the image of capitalism and consumerism. You know, these one-use plastic disposable cameras being really popular. Those grainy, fuzzy, inadequately exposed negatives really paint a picture of the time of when you were on holiday and you had one of these cameras. And, you know, that kind of creates a nostalgic idea. And we see now more than ever with the domination of smartphones and the front-facing selfie cameras. Images are only getting sharper and AI is only altering our images more to be more perfect, that we're kind of losing this charm and nostalgia of grainy, fuzzy, out-of-focus images. The snapshot is essentially dying or being redefined into something completely different. As always, people are getting nostalgic for what once was. Hundreds of film emulating apps are trending now, and I can make a whole video about the rabbit hole of these apps. There's also the rise in popularity of digicams from the early 2000s, as they're more accessible than film and normally cheaper as well. Hell, even I'm a victim of it. I love using my DSi for photography, even though the 0.3 megapixel camera is shit. But I do definitely think this is a damaging trend. Film becoming trendy again is half good, as it means more people are respecting the medium and sales will go up, and naturally that is a good thing. But it's also damaging for prices and inflation over consumption. I've only been shooting film for just over 3 years, but even I can remember when film was so much more cheaper than it was now. It's crazy how expensive it is. With overconsumption creates a desire for alternatives, like these new digital disposable cameras that are the new hot thing. Please, for the love of God, don't buy these. Please, please, please. These are sickening. These are a sham. They're such a dumb waste of money and are literally the late stage capitalism boss. It's crazy. I understand why people are nostalgic for film and the aesthetic it carries, and a pre-mechanical time where things were better. And you know, who am I to hate if someone can find comfort in the warm grain of a Kodachrome slide from the 80s? Or, you know, an emulated film image from one of those silly apps. Christmas. It's Christmas. Beautiful Christmas tree. So happy, festive season. How does everything I've yapped about relate to Christmas at all? Christmas has, and I think always will be, very dependent on nostalgia. Christmas, especially in a Western society, is at its best when you're a child and you still believe in Santa and everything's good and you're really happy and the world is so bright. Life is good because you're a kid and you don't have to worry about living. When you're young, you see on TV happy families. When you go outside, you see Christmas lights. Everything's so bright and beautiful. Even though it's winter and outside is cold, you're emotionally at your warmest. Call me Ebenezer Scrooge, so we're going to be visited by a few spirits after uploading this video. And those spirits are definitely going to be 40% and above. Instead of the ghost of Christmas future, it's actually Vivian Meyer's ghost telling me all my self-portraits are shit and I dishonor her name every time I take an image. That would I think that would make me enjoy Christmas again. When I think of Christmas, I have this collected idea of a warm fireplace, open log burning, you know, you've got a Christmas tree covered in fairy lights, tinsel, presents wrapped underneath the tree. You know, it's a happy painted idea. There's definitely warmer undertones, similar with Kodachrome film. And I think it's very similar to the 80s cultural capital I talked about earlier. You know, we all have a very collected idea of what Christmas looks like. But it never really is that. It's never really as simple as a nice warm image. We're so blinded by the idea we've been sold of this nostalgic Christmas that we're probably never going to experience, and it's only going to make us feel more guilty for never experiencing it. Dare I say, capitalism, bad. I took these images on my first ever roll of colour film in a disposable camera back in December of 2021. A shocking 3 years ago, Jesus Christ. These images are warm, grainy, covered in imperfections from a poor process of color development I was following, and they are nostalgic to me. Pictures of the Christmas tree up, snow, like actual snow, my old Minecraft window back from COVID, my dad in an apron with a Christmas cracker, my old dog Max. This vault is just full of snapshot cuteness of a time long gone. I purposely keep these negatives in my lockbox, not in a negative sleeve, even though I know it's going to damage them, but I kind of want them to be naturally damaged because, you know, to be loved is to be changed. And I love these images. Christmas has came so quickly this year, and I was so ignorantly prepared for it. I've definitely been confronted by this idea of nostalgia just almost out of nowhere, and it's been very overwhelming. But here I am, yapping about film cameras and Christmas in a semi-coherent video essay. I just wanted to talk about nostalgia of film cameras, and specifically how people really piss me off when they associate a value of an aesthetic as the whole entire genre of film. I've seen so many people say they want to shoot black and white film because it's grungy and moody. It just grinds my gears a little. And also, while we're yapping about Christmas and nostalgia in general, Coca-Cola, probably a masterclass in collective memory and warm ideas of nostalgia. You know, the hype around the Christmas Coca-Cola adverts used to be massive. I remember there was like seeing it on the news. You'd have like the lead up to which Christmas advert was going to come out first, and Coca-Cola has the red iconography with Santa Claus on the red trucks and the holidays are coming music. They released a fully AI generated advert this year. I am miserable and I give up. What's the point? Like, I'm just speechless. It's the worst piece of shit I've ever seen. Thank you for watching, as always, if you have stuck around this long. That's why the yapping summarized. Merry Christmas, fuckers. My throat is so close. I've been talking for like an hour at this point. I am weak and feeble. I'm not made to be yapping for this long. The yap search is crazy. Oh, and like and subscribe. I'm gonna go eat a biscuit.